Your brain and money, dopamine versus discipline. On this episode of The Capitalist Investor, we're going to talk about how your brain can either be your worst enemy or your greatest asset. So that when we start building wealth, we are doing it in the right way and we're not looking for instant gratification and fear traps. We are going to talk about building wealth on a disciplined scale.
All right. Hey, Tony, how we doing today?
Good, man. How about yourself?
Oh, can't complain too much.
I like that. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, man, there's nothing wrong. There's launching off first thing in the morning, doing our podcast, and just 110% positive attitude. I love it.
Yep.
Love it. All right, man.
So, yeah, dude, we got some, I thought this was a pretty good topic for kind of what we're seeing in the market now. We've kind of just been grinding up around all-time highs, especially the last couple weeks. Honestly, I drew an immediate comparison with like sports teams, just because we saw the NFL trade deadline. But we are, as humans, we are just wired for like instant gratification,
action.
Yeah, we're wired for like high risk, high reward type of situations. Like that's just what our brains like.
Yeah, that's why people like blackjack.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, man, I'm going to figure out in 5 seconds if I'm going to be winning or losing.
Yep, it was hilarious. Like I was scrolling this morning and I saw someone play a hand of blackjack for $5,000. Right, this is what they do for their content. And the caption was like, "This is like the original dopamine rush."
Yeah,
because it really is just. Wagering something and then having an instant win or loss.
Yeah, it's like, oh man, I get to split them and then I get to split them again and double down on all of them. Yeah, let's go. I got 40 grand in front of me. Oh, yeah. Holy bananas. Yeah, but that's what this is, man. It's like, so first and foremost, like ever since COVID, actually, this is what I really feel like this, again, I talk about this monumental time was when things really launched off, and the lure of an instant win became exceptionally high during that time. And I'm going to start with NFTs, selling digital pictures for money, right? Yep. That's one of them. I remember when I was younger, baseball cards was huge. It's basically fallen off the map unless you just make one card and put somebody's jersey in and sell for $1 million.
Right.
Like, all right, some crazy cards today, right? But GameStop, meme stock, those meme stocks were the company that made it was just all momentum and hype and all, like that is the biggest problem, and it maybe even stems from social media. Again, no one posts their losses on social media. They post their wins, never their losses, and that's the lure of an instant win, because that is how you're right. That's how you mentioned before. That's how we're wired, right? We are wired to win. And if we can do it fast and easy, it's even better.
Right.
So, unfortunately, from just time, just look at Warren Buffett. That dude, playing just stocks in the stock market in general is a gamble, right? It could go to zero tomorrow. You never know. But that guy didn't gamble. Like he didn't get into, I think recently he said he hasn't even been part of like this whole technology AI boom stuff. He's doing the old dividend paying stock strategies, and I do believe in mean reversion. All this stuff that is highly inflated could be coming back down to earth, or everything else catches up to it. So I don't know, man. It is right. It's an instant win, right? So how do you feel about that, D?
Yeah, it's it's basically when you're out there, you're looking at investments, you're trying to pick out stocks, whatever the case may be. It is also, it's two opposing forces, right? Because on one hand, we're definitely wired for that instant gratification, the dopamine hit, but we're also, especially I think our generation and before, we're also brought up, to have a fear of loss. Right. Yes. So, we're the same kind of thought process applies to trying to get that quick win, but also preventing that downturn. Right. And I think this is, what has stuck with me and Tony as well. I'll just speak for him because we talk quite a bit. How many retirement, well, not a lot, but we have seen retirement plans get ruined by panic selling, yes. Right? Locking in losses. I can come up with a couple specific cases during COVID on the downturn that will stick with me forever. Just people that couldn't take it anymore, right? They could not turn on their TV and they just couldn't take another single cent loss, and they just locked in their losses and just missed the upside on the way back.
Yeah, I mean that's during COVID. That was during the Trump tariff board thing.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, like there was just like, oh my God, like this is it's happening, right? Everyone's just sitting around waiting for it to happen,
yep.
And it hasn't, and that's been detrimental to most people because as you're selling when you're completely panicked, so you're down.
Yep,
right?
exactly.
I will flip that on the other side though. We're talking about the loss aversion, but there's that win side of things too, where hey, I bought this stock for $100, it's $500 today. I ain't selling it.
Right.
Like you should really consider doing that, or at least take $400 off the table and work with, take house money off, or take the casino money off the table and work with what you put in there.
Yep.
Because there's a thing that you see quite a bit, especially with people that are emotionally attached to their investment ideas. The emotional investing.
Yep.
They get round tripped. Bought it at 100, goes to 500, comes back to 150. Okay, you're still up 50%, but it could have been up 500%. So there's that other side of it too. So panic selling and resistance to sell is what I'll call it, is another thing. And then just to kind of bolt onto this, before the show started, we were talking about how, people can, loss aversion. Like some people just, they're addicted to debt. Right? They're okay with it. They're moving on. They're okay paying the interest or whatnot, and they're addicted to it. And on the other side of that coin is that there's people that are addicted to spending money. They're wired to save, and they can't spend their money. And when we talk about building successful financial plans, we're like,
yep.
Man, your plan's so successful that you could, spend an extra $25,000 in retirement.
Right. And
they look at me and like, I wouldn't know what to do. And then there's somebody that's sitting in the back like, hold my beer, I'll show you how to spend that.
Exactly.
Right? So it's all how you're wired and how disciplined you are, and then how long you run that discipline program.
Right.
Yep. Because it'll become a habit at one point. So there's definitely that. When it comes to, you're your own CEO, right? If you hire a CFO like us,
right.
That's what we always call each other. We're a personal CFO. I don't tell you what to do with your money. I just tell you the consequences, good or bad, of decisions that you can make. So again, I just talked about it before. If you can just have the delayed instant gratification, you put that in the back burner and know that's. Most people don't know how to control that. If you get a sudden spike, like they don't know when to sell, right? Or they sell too early, they sell too late. I mean, no one's perfect, but most people hold on and write it back down.
Right.
So if you can just pick a good program, a good investment strategy, and always save, and you save and move on, and you find money in the budget to consistently save, you are going to absolutely always be in a better situation.
Yep, for sure.
So, and the only con is, again, with this mentality, it's like, hey, I've done this so long, I'm used to saving. I don't want to run out of money. I don't want, their habit is maybe unbreakable. I've seen that. So, what are your thoughts, Dave?
Yeah, I think having a personal CFO, whether that's yourself or someone else, to kind of obviously you can't bounce ideas off yourself, but having that personal CFO to have a dialogue with, I think is very important, because what it really comes down to, like everything else, is really is just training your brain, or rewiring your brain to tell you that things are okay, right? Like if you are 68 and you've delayed retirement for an extra 2 years just to be safe, even though your plan says you could have retired at 64, and then, you're spending, 25% less than the financial plan tells you, like that is a very common thing to have happen. But if you start earlier on your financial journey and you kind of prepare yourself mentally to trust what the planning tells you to do, you're going to have a much happier retirement. Yep. And it's not, and especially with us as advisors, it's not just all about dollars and cents. It really is kind of having a partner to help train your brain to let you know that things are okay.
Right. And to also remind you, right? Because that's one thing for me to just say it and we move on, but like constant coaching of, hey, these are the right paths.
Right.
And this is why we're doing it. Re-education.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I'm very big on in our firm, is because of the planning team. But when it comes down to just doing all of this, how do you rewire yourself for wealth and freedom? And it comes down to the baseline for anyone, especially if you start saving, right? If you're brand new to saving and maybe you just got your first job, like automation and discipline. Pick a number you're gonna save and set some goals. Maybe you're gonna say, hey, I'm gonna increase my savings every time I get a raise.
Yep.
Or my goal is to hey, I want to get to that max out moment. The max out moment for maxing out my retirement plan? Like, what do I need to sacrifice to accomplish that goal? So goal setting is good, but it needs to be the other way around too. We have to, again, once you hit your goals, we need to understand that sometimes you need to celebrate your goals. And I think a lot of people don't do that. So what does that mean? Maybe you splurge a little bit on, a vacation, clothes, jewelry, whatever it may be. But again, we have to hit our goals and they need to be meaningful. And there's nothing wrong with the goal set. And the goal I've talked about material things. Maybe that goal is hey, if I do all of this stuff, I can retire 2 years earlier.
Yep.
That's, that's a big deal, right? So, and and I'll even say this, all right, again, we talked about the dopamine rush, the lure of winning. There's nothing wrong with trying some of this, but, I have some clients that do this where I want to pick some of my own stuff because you guys are, not picking the new hottest micro cap stock. Right? Yes, we are not doing that. Correct. But we can sit down and talk about it and set an account aside, a play box account, a play account, just something where you're putting, we got to figure out what that number is, whether it's 5% of your liquid net worth, your 10%, 20%. We got to figure out that number. Right. Because we have to then assume inside the planning software that it gets cut in half or goes to zero. If you lose all that money, are you going to make it? Right. Are you okay? Right. Because that would be a what if. What if I simulate, hey, you got your play account and it got wiped out? Yep. So that's a big thing. Because
it still is fun, right? And if the plan tells you that you can set aside a little bit and have some fun, right, and get a few wins, yeah, absolutely. We can definitely work that in. We're not saying not to have fun. We're not saying even not to take risks. Just do it as part of an overall plan and an overall strategy. And I think you really nailed it with the setting of the goals. When you're 55, maybe you don't have any of your assets outside of your 401k. That is not too early to start planning. Right. Never too early. It's never too late to start saving, ever, right? And we talked about that in one of our last episodes. Hey, you're in your mid 50s. What are the 10 things you need to do to, hit the finish line? Right. Even maybe get there earlier. We laid out about 10 different ideas in strategies. So if you missed that part, if you missed that podcast, hit the rewind button and check it out. Yeah. So. All right, D. All right, well, excellent episode this week. If you guys have questions or comments, ideas for a show, hit us up at info@swpconnect.com, and we'll talk to you next week.
The opinions expressed in the podcast are for general informational purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any investment, legal, financial, or tax strategy. It is only intended to provide education about the financial industry. Please consult a qualified professional about your individual needs.